Stay tuned for SADAQA coming next.
Every day we witness signs in our lives of mankind's proudest accomplishments. And gathered in many locations throughout our city are some who see these signs and know, Allahu Akbar, God is greater. They are called Muslim, for those who submit to the will of God. And you are warmly invited to meet some of them as Bism Arabic Foundation presents SADAQA with host Gerard Ibn Earl Bilal.
Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to a special edition of SADAQA. We're happy you could be with us today. Normally I would give you the lineup and tell you who's going to be on the program. We have so many distinguished individuals on the program today, though, and I'm going to have to skip past that and just tell you that the show is different because it involves a studio audience and it involves a panel, and instead of me being involved in a one-on-one interview, we're going to have a co-moderator, co-host, and before I go any more, I think I'll hold it right there. Let me just say that the program today will focus on An-Nisaa, the women, specifically Muslim women. I remember picking up a pen at a store in Chicago, and it said, Kul Muslim Aqwa. And when I asked about what the translation meant, the brother explained to me, he said, well, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, all Muslims are brothers. Well, today, you'll find that that statement was not quite true, because you're going to meet my sisters, quite a few of my sisters. So we're going to bring you a special program of Muslims women right after this.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahmanir Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyyaka na'bud Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahmanir Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyyaka na'budu wa Iyyaka nasta'in. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. صدق الله العظيم.
We're back. That was, you got a chance to see a little bit of Abdul Rahim Sheikh reciting Qur'an, and you know now that there's a tape available, short surahs from the Holy Qur'an, and I want to mention that all of our guests today who are in our audience and on our panel have received a copy of that, and you can get a copy of that, inshallah. We'll let you know how a little later on in the program. Let me introduce Rafeea Muhammad, who will be our co-host today and moderator, who is, you may have seen before if you've watched our SADAQA programs regularly. Rafeea was interviewed at the Eid al-Fitr celebration or afterwards, and she gave such a glowing description of what Ramadan and the Eid feast was all about that we really hope we can have Rafeea as a regular part of the SADAQA team. And we have Issurah Madyun, who is in the nutrition business. She's also involved with the radio program every week out in Gary on WLTH. And we'll talk a little bit more about how Issurah can look in your eyes and tell you things about your health. Here in the middle is Rosemary Aldunate Halawa. Rosemary is in the media. She's usually behind the scenes, so she may appear to be a little uncomfortable sitting here in front. Rosemary directs a program every week on Channel 26 called the TV Arabic Hour, and we're hoping that she'll be able to give us some tips and tell us a little bit about that activity. We have Dr. Samella Abdullah. Dr. Abdullah is a psychologist who is involved in counseling work here in the city, and I'm going to let her tell you more about what she does in a brief introduction. And someone who has been on our program before is Fahimah Sultan. She works with our children. As I recall in an interview in a past show, Fahimah said that she had the opportunity to actually tutor the children of Malcolm X when she was in New York City working under the auspices then of the University of Islam and now within the Sister Clara Muhammad school system, and she's developed some aids for children to learn more about the deen. And sisters, I want to welcome you to SADAQA. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Now, we also have in our audience a group of Muslim women who are involved regularly in works. Some of them I know, some of them I don't know, but we're very happy to invite you. This is the very first time that we've had a live studio audience, and we hope we can build on this, if not every week, at least from time to time. Assalamu alaikum, sisters. Before we go too deep into the discussion today, you know, I already gave some ground rules in terms of what our program is about. Basically, we want you in our viewing audience to know that maybe some of the things you've read about what a Muslim is or what a Muslim woman is are not true. You may get some things that come from a cultural background, and hopefully we'll shed a little light on those things. One of the things that kind of sticks in my mind, though, is this idea that if you become a Muslim and you're a woman, you have to take a subservient position to the man. I remember as I was coming up, and I was not a Muslim growing up, somehow I remember hearing from someone that you were supposed to walk, the woman was supposed to walk 10 paces behind the man. I want to start this discussion off so we get this stuff out in the open. Is that true? And anyone can be the first to address that point. Dr. Abdullah, you counsel. Is that true?
No, that definitely is not true. Muslim women do not have to walk 10 steps, 15 steps, 20 steps behind their men. I think it's very interesting that so many people who knew me before I became a Muslim say to me, but you're such an independent woman. It's hard to understand how you could become a Muslim. And I said, but that is what a Muslim woman is, an independent woman, a woman who is intellectually independent, who is spiritually independent, who connects with her man and with her children. But a Muslim woman is to develop herself fully as possible. A Muslim never stops learning, never stops growing. And this I tell them, and then they understand better how I am a Muslim, because they said, I can't see you walking 10 steps behind a man. I said, that's right.
You know, actually, when I walk, it's usually my wife and I are usually side by side, you know. And I don't think she would ever go for that.
I don't think so either.
I mean, is there any semblance of truth in this from well, Rosemary, I know that you come from a cultural background that is a little different than perhaps some of the other sisters sitting up here today. Because, well, what country are you from?
I am from Bolivia, South America.
Okay.
And I became a Muslim here in the United States.
MashaAllah. And I know that your husband is
He is an Arab.
he's from one of the
Palestine.
countries in the Middle East. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, from your
Experience?
experience, is a good
No,
word.
the woman don't have to walk behind him. Usually it's beside him. But certain times I think it makes sense men should walk ahead, because if there is danger, he will have to encounter first.
Yes.
So that makes sense. I mean, as a matter of fact, in those cases, as I recall from my own experience, I have to step out in front when it's dark there. You go to the car first.
So it
That's a
makes
natural
sense.
thing for a man to feel as a
but-
protector.
Yeah, but I don't think so. There is nothing in the Quran that says that women should walk behind.
Well, I know there's nothing in the Quran that says that. And I also want to mention now that the roles that seem to be projected out in the Western world, at any rate, about Muslim women, seem to be askew. You direct a television show, but that's not the way that's not the impression I generally get when I read the newspaper. It's usually, women are made to be subservient, and all they have to do is fulfill the wishes of the husband, or if they're not married, of the head of the family, the father or so. You are involved in working with a television program every week.
Yes.
And
Well, sister already mentioned that to be a Muslim doesn't mean that you have to be subservient, but you have to be independent, and you have to grow up, and you have to learn. You know, there is nothing in the book that says women should be at home doing certain things and nothing else. I think the Quran is in the essence, is one of the religions that liberates everyone
Yes, it
to
does.
learn and to become fully a human being.
Yes.
all right, tell us a little bit about what you do on television.
At this moment, I direct the TV Arabic Hour, which is a show for the Arab and Arab American people in this area. The show mainly tries to bring all the Arab influence here in the United States. It is for the American people to appreciate what have been the contributions of the Arab world. When we're talking about the Arab world, we're talking about the Christians and the Muslims, and of course the Jewish too.
Yes.
But mainly, there is no other show in town that is presenting this image in a positive, in a familiar way. And so this show started 2 years ago, and thanks to God, you know, it is continuing, and everyone is invited to come on April the 9th to our second anniversary.
Oh, mashallah. April the 9th
9th
is the second anniversary of the TV
of the
Arabic
TV
Hour.
Arabic Hour.
Well, we'd like to know more about that.
Yes.
Now, I've seen to be working from this way to this way. I'm jumping around here, folks, and in a minute I'm going to toss the ball to Rafeea Muhammad, who, you know, earlier we took a poll of the sisters who are attending this evening and said, well, what topics do you think are important enough for us to discuss and we need to project? So Rafeea will be basically moderating that portion of the program. Issurah Madyun, however, I mentioned could look in your eyes and tell you things about your health, and that sounds a little mysterious to me.
Yes, it
Would you maybe give us a little bit more information, Issurah, about how you do that?
Yes, I'd be glad to. Bismillah. Well, I am a doctor of what you call naturopathy or naturotherapy and an iridologist. The field that, the role that iridology plays in natural health care is it helps one to determine exactly what is going on with our body. Iridology will tell you the past, the present, and the future, which sounds very mysterious, but it's very, very true. Iridology is a very ancient science, and the basic principles is that Almighty God Allah created our body where it is self-healing, and everything that happens to the body from conception, the child, as well as animals in the womb of the mother, is recorded in the iris of the eye. And we look at inherent weaknesses and strengths, and this is what we mean by the past, what our genetic makeup is. We don't too much worry about or focus on the strong areas of the body, and I like to say that because a lot of people think you're just looking for everything wrong, but many people have such strong constitutions or genetic makeup that there's very little that at conception that is wrong. But because we are what we eat, drink, breathe, digest, and assimilate, and the society that we're living in now, we build different diseases and problems in our body. Then we come to the present, what is presently happening. Wherever there is what we call inflammation, because inflammation is the manifestation of any tissue irritation anywhere in the body. It starts with an acute, subacute, chronic, or whatever inflammation. So once we determine the inflammation, we suggest particular programs for our clients, and we periodically take pictures of their eyes. Initially, we take a picture of their eyes, and we do it through maybe every 3 months to watch how the body is healing itself, because no one can heal you. Almighty God Allah created our body where it's self-healing, and the purpose of the iridologist and the naturopath and naturotherapy is only to determine where the problems are and then create the right environment that's conducive to healing, and Almighty God Allah has already clocked that into our being.
Now, that's another field that doesn't sound like the traditional type of work that a Muslim woman might be involved in. What a surprise, folks. And I want to learn more about that. It seems natural to me that as you described, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a magnificent tool to work with in our body that works automatically if we allow it to do that. And we can recognize certain things in our body if we learn to do that. And we don't have to use artificial means in many cases. In most cases, would you say?
I would definitely say that.
All right.
If we only give nature an opportunity to work, and nature is Allah's creation.
Well, I know that in looking at some of the cards before we went on, education is a topic, especially for our children, that seems to be something that most of the sisters here were interested in this evening, and certainly having 3 daughters. And I have to tell you this, folks, you know, there's tradition, there's hadith, that says that if a Muslim father raises up 2 daughters, and in the way that they're supposed to go, he gets paradise. I've got 3 daughters. And inshallah, you see one of them on the show almost every week. Inshallah, I'm going to raise them that way, and hopefully I'm going to get paradise. So, Sister Fahimah Sultan, as we mentioned a little earlier, works with our children. And let's get our discussion started in terms of education when we come back after this message.
For your complimentary copy of short surahs from the Holy Qur'an recited by Abdul Rahim Sheikh, answer this question. What surah of the Qur'an is called An-Nisaa? Send your answers along with your name and mailing address to SADAQA Quiz, Post Office Box 49552, Chicago, Illinois 60649. The first 10 correct entries will receive complimentary copies of the tape Short Surahs from the Holy Qur'an. Again, the question is, what surah of the Qur'an is called An-Nisaa? Now, back to our show. This portion of our program, we're going to have a chance for the audience to get in on it, and Rafeea is basically going to moderate this. Rafeea, take it away.
Well, it's always very nice to be in the company of Muslimas and to share ideas, and I'm very impressed with the diversity in the vocations and professions that this panel represent. I have a question for Sister Fahimah Sultan. Sister Sultan, is an educator, and I know she prefers to be referred to as a cultivator, that is, a cultivator of young minds. And I have a question for you, Sister. The proclamation to read is very significant to the history of Islam, as it was the first instruction that came to our Holy Prophet, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, in a series of revelations that have come to compile the book we refer to and we know as the Holy Qur'an. I would like to ask, how do you incorporate the Islamic principles embodied in the Qur'an as far as your approach to education as opposed to the traditional concepts of education?
Exactly. I use the Quran as the basis for educational methods in dealing with the children. I feel that the Quran is our guide in everything, and that's what's necessary in order to counteract the problems that are in education today. In Surah Al-Iqra, which says, read in the name of our guardian Lord, I deal with the recognition that the first words you learn to read stay in your computer for the rest of your life. The joy and the elation that you feel in knowing I understand stays with the children. I remember reading Fun with Dick and Jane. If you think you'll remember the first words you learned to read, and recognizing that this is true, we want the first words to stay with our children to be about Allah and about their Creator and about their religion. So this is the basis that I deal with working with our children. I teach them aspects of their religion in everything that they learn. In the numbers, when I go Wahid 1, I put it in a rhyme, Wahid 1, Allah has no son. And in that statement, I'm dealing with Surah Al-Iqra, which says that he begets not, nor is he begotten. And this is what I use with the children, to let them know that there is no son for Allah, which refutes the Western thinking that Jesus Christ is the son of Allah, which is not true.
Are there any questions that those in our audience may want to ask the panel concerning education?
And I think that one of the things that I think is true about the Muslim women is that, as opposed to Western society, a lot of times when women do go out to work and do things, it's to enrich themselves, to bring something else to their life. But I think as a Muslim, the things that we do and as Muslima is to really develop our families more. We go out and we learn things and we bring things back, and it helps us in raising the children better, I think, because we get a larger view of the world, and in that, we bring something to the home, and it's not just because we want to just enrich ourselves. And one of the stories that I've read in Islam and that really stuck with me about women is that once someone asked the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, what was the duty of a woman to her children. And he told a story of a woman, and she had 2 children, and they were very hungry, and they hadn't eaten for a lot of days, and they were traveling through this town, and someone gave them 3 dates. They gave the mother 3 dates, and she gave 1 date to each of her children. There were 2 children, and she watched them eat, and then she broke the 3rd date in half and gave 1/2 to her son and 1/2 to her daughter. And I think that that really speaks to, the essence of what a Muslim woman's devotion and dedication is to the family. She had really fulfilled her obligation when she gave them each something to eat, but you give more than that. It's, you really, as a Muslim woman, if you have children, and even if there are children around you, your main obligation is to be supportive of your family and to raise your children to be servants of Allah. And that's the thing that I wanted to share, that we're not just getting out, getting careers and getting into different things because we're trying to just enrich ourselves, and that the duty is to Allah. And as I understand it from Qur'an and Hadith, that the heaven is at the foot of the woman, and and that that tells us that our children are really at our feet when they're babies, and that's how we will reach paradise. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam. Well spoken, well spoken. Rafeea and other panelists, what she said made sense. In the opening of the program, I did kind of concentrate on what you do, and I didn't bring up the point that Sister Fahimah Sultan has raised a family. Yes. That Samella Abdullah is a parent of, your daughter's in college now, right?
Well, I have an adult daughter who's 30 years old, and I have a 19-year-old son and an 18-year-old daughter. So, yes, you're absolutely correct. We're not just being independent and learning and growing for ourselves. We're learning and growing to come back for our families, for our children, for our husband, for our relatives, for our neighbors, for our total communities, because we are the womb, and we have a responsibility to help our people grow.
Sister, you're a counseling clinician.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have a PhD in psychology.
That's correct.
We hear so much about the breakdown of the family, about one-parent homes, absence of fathers. We know that many women now are responsible for the total care of their home, for the well-being of the home and children that they may have. Can you give us an Islamic perspective as how you see the woman being effective in being a mother in these trying times where she may have to spend so many hours away from the home, but yet and still she's very much concerned about cultivating correct values in her children, as well as providing food for them. She would like to provide the essentials that would guarantee that that child, in spite of what may be viewed as obstacles, will grow and be healthy in thought and will be a moral and contributing individual to society in a positive way. Could you say something?
Yes, sister, that's a very big order. And the reason it's such a big order is because we do not live in a humane society. We live in a very materialistic society where the value is placed on what you can achieve and what you can gain materially, but not placed on who you are as a person, what your values are, how you treat other people, how you love other people, and how you love and worship God. That is not a value in this society, and everything about the society, the institutions support this kind of materialism, this kind of racism, this kind of sexism. So therefore, the woman is very often stranded and left without the support of a good man, of a Muslim man, of a man who is going to provide and protect her and be the head of the family. So this woman then is struggling to fulfill some of that responsibilities, as well as nurture and love and cultivate and not educate, but cultivate her children and her community. And it's a heavy responsibility on women today. Of course, when we think about a family, we also think about a community. You are my family. You know, you don't have to be a blood sister to be my family. You are my Muslim sister, and you are my family. Issurah is my Muslim sister, and she is my family. You are all my Muslim sisters, and you are my family. And if I find that I am tired or I am falling short, then I need the support of the community to help me to do what I need to do. Now, if I have pulled away from my spirituality, if I've pulled away from
SADAQA means to tell the truth. SADAQA is a charity.
I think it's very interesting that so many people who knew me before I became a Muslim say to me, but you're such an independent woman. It's hard to understand how you could become a Muslim. And I said, but that is what a Muslim woman is. An independent woman, a woman who is intellectually independent, who is spiritually independent, who connects with her man and with her children. But a Muslim woman is to develop herself fully as possible. A Muslim never stops learning, never stops growing. And this I tell them, and then they